Welcome to CEO Insights. I'm Marilyn de Guzman with Investing News Network. My guest today is Richard Pearce, CEO of South Star Battery Metals, and we're talking about the company's graphite projects in Brazil and in Alabama. Good to see you again, Richard.
Hi, Marilyn. Nice to see you.
Yes, let's start our conversation. The last time we spoke, you gave us an update on construction work that's being done at your Santa Cruz project in Brazil. Could you provide our audience some the latest developments in that project and where is it at right now?
Banging away at it. So we're about 70% complete on our construction. Foundations are just about done. They were putting the last lifts on a bunch of walls. Like I said, most of the foundations are done. Equipment is basically starting to get loaded onto foundations, and the electrical mechanical assemblies getting wrapped around it. So we just recently on our LinkedIn and other bits of social media, we put out the time lapse through the end of August. So again, on schedule basically to be commissioned and at commercial phase one commercial production at the end of this year. So for the most part, advancing well on the construction on target with kind of our planning and budget and things like that. And look forward to getting material into the marketplace and developing those long-term commercial relationships that are so important to us. We're also just waiting for comments on our licensing and permitting for phases 2 and 3 at Santa Cruz. So all the documentation has been submitted. We have responded to several rounds of questions and comments so far, both on the mining license as well as the environmental licenses for phases 2 and 3, and look to continue to be on schedule basically for around the end of this year or worst case scenario, first part of next year, we'll have our licenses and permits for phases 2 and 3 in hand. We can get moving on engineering and advancing the financing for that development. And then in terms of, the overall plan, we'll be drilling at the end of this year to look to expand our resources and reserves. We're finding some nice surprises as we push into the pit area with regards to, even some mineralization that we didn't know was there. So, we're looking to expand our resource and reserve base and get a feasibility study out that incorporates the expanded reserves plus phases 2 and 3. Our pre-feasibility basically was phases 1 and 2. Our feasibility will incorporate everything we've learned basically on this build, 6 months of operations, and then phase 3. So we'll get that out basically at the end of 2024 and scale as quickly as possible.
I think that's an important, one of the things that from what you said that struck me was, your project going as scheduled, and I think that's a incredible accomplishment given, what's going on in the market with supply challenges and those types of things. So you're targeting completion and start production by the end of the year. So what can the investor community expect after that to watch from the company once you start production?
Yeah, I think that's really, it's an accomplishment for the team, and it's been done with 0 lost time accidents, which again is always the goal is 0. And we've been very fortunate and blessed in that sense that, they're very focused every day on safety. As the company migrates from development into an operational asset and then scales thereafter, there's lots of exciting catalysts that will be coming out. We'll have drilling results. We'll have commercial agreements announced. We'll have additional network battery tests, et cetera. So I think really over the next 18 to 24 months coming out of Santa Cruz, really exciting times for us as we expand our resource and reserves. We get material into the marketplace and actually have sales and cash flow, which is a novelty. So I think if you look around the space it's not a lot of new production is coming online, and Santa Cruz really will be the first new production brought online in America since 1996. So we're super excited about that transition from development into production. I've been working on the project basically since 2010. So, it's been 13 years in the oven, and finally happy to see it pop off the paper and get in production, and then looking to scale as the markets and clients are asking us to produce more. So I think it's exciting times for Santa Cruz, and I think there's going to be a lot of really positive things that come out of the next 18 to 24 months, particularly on the commercial front, and as well as on our resource and reserve expansion. I mean, the guys ran across, a 40-meter wide package of ore that we didn't even know was there, and it was kind of trending 10 to 14% CG. We found samples that grade out at 20% CG. So I think the more we get into our deposit, the better we understand the controls of mineralizations, how it processes. We are doing some testing work as well for some new equipment that should help us get to even better grade than 94, 96 with just mechanical concentration. And then we're also basically getting into the next round of battery tests. So we initially did coin cells and ran those out for 120 cycles or thereabouts. I was just in the US, and we went around to various labs and various different equipment manufacturers, et cetera. So our next round of testing will be looking at chemical purification and thermal purification. We'll be looking to build cylindrical cells, very similar to what you would put into EVs, be it Tesla, Ford, GM, et cetera, and then doing some longer cycle testing on that. So we're really looking to go to the next phase of testing, looking at the rheology, looking at the dispersion, how it goes on to the copper, how it performs both with synthetic as well as with silicon, and then run that out for a longer life cycle, so we can actually sit down with suppliers with a clear understanding of how our material performs compared to benchmarks that are currently available in the marketplace. So lots of good news to be coming out over the next 18 to 24 months, including production and then scaling.
And then at the same time, happening, back in North America is another project that you just, drilling right now. Could you talk a bit more about that? And that's the one in Alabama.
Sure. So Bama Star is, a historic producer. It was producing back in the 30s, really. We just met with the landowners, and one of the landowners was telling us about what it was like when she was a little girl, going out to this mine that her grandparents were running. And she hated it, of course, because she had to leave the city and go out to the country. But she was just talking about, the production back in the 20s and 30s. And here she is, decades later, telling us what her memories were with regards to that production. So it's kind of cool to see historic production that's been in one family for a long amount of times, and we're advancing it. So we had our maiden resource put out in March of this year, really good results. To support the PEA, we've done an additional, it'll be, around 1,900, maybe 2,000 meters of drilling. They should be wrapping up here in the next day or two. Then we'll be basically putting that into an updated resource that we'll be putting out. And Q1, basically March of next year, 2024, we'll be looking to put out our PEA, which will basically be Bama Star and Santa Cruz, both producing concentrates, and the value add plant somewhere in that southeast corridor that's producing 60 or 70,000 tons of value add material, including battery anode material. So again, that'll be a big step up for us in terms of profile as we transition from a company that has phase 1 or 2 in Bama Star to 2 mines producing 100,000 tons of con plus 60 or 70,000 tons of value add material. So again, I think in the U.S., there's really 3 deposits that have a known resource and reserve, and we're one of those. I think we're well positioned to take advantage of the knowledge and commercial success that Brazil has from selling and producing and selling graphite for 80 plus years, transfer that knowledge to the U.S. and then be able to scale those operations as required. So I think our approach is really sound. It's a phased approach to production. It's all a modular build so that we can scale these things quickly. What we're doing in Brazil is 100% applicable and similar to what we'll be doing in Alabama. So this allows us to scale quickly. Most of this stuff will be pre-mounted in controlled environment on skids, and we'll drop it in place on foundation. So again, we'll be able to stack these things up fairly quickly and easily with very good quality control. And again, I think our team has done a magnificent job of being on time with safe operations, and we'll look to transfer that as well to Alabama. So again, Alabama will have vertically integrated production scheduled basically for 2027. And again, I suspect we'll be one of the first, if not the first, new producer in the U.S. So exciting times for us, and again, lots of catalysts in terms of drilling results, met work, battery testing results, et cetera. So really a lot of good news coming out over the next 18 to 24 months. And I think we're well positioned to deliver to the market both the first new concentrate in the Americas, as well as one of the first new midstream or downstream supplier of battery anode materials.
So, you have your hands full between these 2 projects that are proceeding. I'm curious to know, is your company just focused on graphite for now, or is something in the works, or somewhere along the future are you also looking at other battery metals that will be needed for as we move forward, electrification and decarbonization?
Just on graphite, and we've got our plate full. Obviously, we look at a lot of projects and a lot of opportunities. We get decks sent to us all the time. Right now, I really want to stick to our home cooking and making sure that we deliver on time and on budget, and get our operations up and running. If you look at kind of just what we're looking at, we're talking somewhere in the range of 350 to maybe $500 million investment, and a company that potentially would be $300-400 million gross revenue over the next 5 to 7 years. So I think we're really focused on delivering that as promised to the marketplace, and really stick to our knitting. But obviously, we're looking constantly at new projects and new opportunities. But our focus truly is on delivering that 5 to 7 year strategic vision to the marketplace. But obviously, if something comes up that is worth us taking some time to look at, we're able to do that and interested in doing that. But focus and job number one is safely getting into production, scaling these operations, and strategically looking at some new opportunities as they come along. But we're going to stick really to our strategic vision and deliver that as quickly as possible and as safely as possible to the markets.
Mm-hmm. When we talk about graphite, I guess in the past, in our previous interviews, we've talked about graphite's role in electrification and battery metals, and the emerging markets for these. Are you seeing this continuing with graphite? With the use of graphite, and as we move forward in the near future.
Yeah, I think it's something that we're basically in a perfect storm for battery metals, and graphite is one of those critical elements. I think if you look out across the space, obviously lithium is well understood and fairly valued in the markets. I think graphite is one of those battery metals, critical metals in general, that is yet to be appreciated and understood. It's essential really to the battery metals story. So it doesn't happen without graphite. And I think if you look out across the different battery designs, be it NMC or LFP or NCA or whatever, graphite is agnostic. It's in all of those battery types. It may be that there's a blend of synthetic with natural flake. It may be they throw in a little bit of silicon into that mix, but really the electrification revolution doesn't happen without graphite. You can't have a battery without an anode in it. Currently there's I think whatever it was, I think at the beginning of the year, there was something like 320 different gigafactories in some stage of planning or construction. And now I think the last number I saw, it was over 400. So we're in a situation where there's an exploding demand coming, a constrained supply. Really, it's a perfect storm as it relates to graphite. The average mine takes, 10 to 12 years to bring online in terms of the engineering, the licensing, the permitting, the build, having the team to actually deliver on that. So I think overall the macro setup is fantastic, and nothing is really going to change that, be it in terms of mobility and EVs, or be it in terms of stationary storage and the revolution that's going on there towards more renewables and an overall decrease in our carbon footprint. So I think really we're ideally situated. Obviously the macro environment is challenging right now. Rising interest rates, central banks across the globe are trying to control inflation, but I think the macro setup is such that we're not going to move away from the electrification theme. There's nothing out there that is going to substitute graphite, at least in the next 7 to 10 years. All the money that the trillions of dollars that we're sinking into this, every battery factory that's being built right now is all based on traditional sorts of chemistries and design. So again, exciting times for us as we'll basically be bringing the first new graphite production to the Americas. And I think when you look at the global situation and the trends that are happening now, you've got geopolitics playing a really big role, deglobalization as opposed to globalization, and really looking at the provenance and the security of supply. I think when you look out across what happened because of the pandemic, you see a fragile supply chain in many ways. And I don't think Europe or North America is going to put themselves in a situation that compromises the economic well-being or security of those countries and jurisdictions. So again, I think provenance is going to be super important. The IRA that the U.S. set up, basically over the next 5 or 6 years, you go from 40 or 50%, made in America to 100% made in America for you to qualify for the $7,500 tax credit. So again, having multiple assets that are scalable in safe, stable jurisdictions situates us well to be able to meet those needs as they grow over time. And I also think that there's just not a lot of options out there. If you look at the supply chain today, Asia accounts for a vast majority. I think China has about 65% of the graphite concentrate production. And Asia certainly has about 100% of all the midstream and the downstream processing. So I think as we move through the next 5 to 10 years, there'll be a real focus on onshoring, bringing production back to Europe, the US, Canada, Mexico, et cetera. And really, I think, South Star is well positioned to take advantage of those trends that aren't going anywhere. So I think graphite is a fantastic place to be. It has yet to kind of get the wind in the sails that lithium has. So there's some real opportunities out there, and we look to be one of the first producers. So I think it's an exciting time for us over the next 18 to 24 months.
Mhm. And you mentioned the importance of team. I know that you've recently announced new addition to your teams. I'd like you to maybe talk a little bit more about them for our viewers who may not be familiar with what they bring to the table and what their backgrounds are.
Sure. Again, nobody does anything big on their own. So we're always looking to bring in new folks that can help us move faster, better, build a better widget. So very fortunate to have Roger and Ty come on board. Roger is a gentleman that I've known for about the last 6 months. We've been talking for, once a month or so, and more recently, but has a very deep knowledge as it relates to capital markets and specifically the energy transition and the electrification revolution that's ongoing. So he ran his own. He was a portfolio manager for many years. Ran his own fund for many years. Really focused on that theme, and has been gracious enough to join our board. So been having a great working relationship, both as a board member, but also as a special advisor. So he's been helping me out on certain themes and aspects, particularly as it relates to the U.S. markets. He's a Canadian that got lost in San Francisco and has been there for a couple of decades. So he's got a really good Rolodex that we look forward to introducing ourselves to. And again, I think one of the main things that we are able to do as we have a strong foundation under us and we are transitioning from a development company to a producing company is the story sells itself. We've got a great story with a great team and we just keep ticking through our action items and delivering value to the marketplace. A little bit of love from U.S. investor goes a really long way. And I think Roger's going to be key to helping us get in front of more U.S. Institutional high net worth family offices in the U.S. and helping us get that story out to the U.S. investor in general. And then Ty, again, was introduced to me at a conference a couple of months ago and is a batteries graphite specialist. So the guy just has a passion for graphite and how it works in lithium ion batteries, lead acid batteries, alkaline batteries, any kind of battery. So he has a passion for graphite and its applications for batteries. He's been doing this for a really long time. Technically, he's just been a world of help to me as we try to put out and design our testing program and then get in front of companies with somebody who deeply understands the battery space. I'm a guy that digs holes in the ground and, likes to stand up mines. Ty is bringing that next level of expertise and know-how to us as it relates to, graphite for batteries, and has really been key in helping us lay out our design of experiment, how we're going to go about testing and getting us in front of companies. So 2 fantastic additions to the team. I couldn't be more pleased with, just the interaction we've had to date and really excited about, again, the next 18 to 24 months and how this develops our strategic vision faster. So we're going to be basically trying to go as fast as we can possibly go and as fast as clients want us to move. And I think we're well positioned with the current team to just keep delivering on our milestones and catalysts.
Well, thanks for sharing your company updates today and some of your insights on the market. I think it's safe to say the next time we speak, you'll be a producer. So looking forward to getting more more news from your company.
No, absolutely. And thanks for taking the time today. And again, I think South Star is really at a watershed event. We've got, scalable assets in multiple jurisdictions, a team to deliver on it. I think the global setup is such that, it's a great time to be involved in battery metals and certainly graphite. And I think with the geopolitical setup as well, just provenance of supply and be able to deliver material from safe, stable jurisdictions as we kind of deglobalize is going to be a differentiator. And I think companies that can provide midstream and downstream products within that context, you're going to trade at a premium. So just really anxious and excited to see how the next 24 months play out for us, but it should be fun.
Great. Again, thanks for joining us today, and thanks everyone for watching. Join us again next time for another engaging conversation on CEO Insights. If you like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any new updates and interviews from Investing News Network. See you next time.